authority. We started off with the first commandment with God's authority. Now we're talking about the domestic church at this point. Fifth commandment, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. Well, that's a real big one because you're going to be reading a whole bunch of stories after this of a whole lot of killing. So, thou shalt not kill. What does that mean? I don't know. Let's move on. No, we know what it means. It says very clear in the Catechism what it means. We are prohibited from slaying innocent lives and righteous people. We cannot do that. The Catechism is very specific. It says, no one can under any circumstance claim for himself the right directly to destroy an innocent human being. The act of self-defense, however, and the Catechism goes through this, the act of self-defense can have a double effect: the preservation of one's own life and the killing of the aggressor. The one is intended, the other is not. Someone who defends his life is not guilty of a murder, even if he is forced to deal his aggressor a lethal blow. Now, the church does not teach, I don't know, this might surprise you, but the church does not teach against the death penalty. The United States bishops have voted to not be in favor of the death penalty. The Holy Father is against the death penalty, but what are the reasons? The reasons are injustice in our judicial system and the fact that so many innocent are dying as a result. And when we err on the side of life, and we give them the benefit of the doubt. Paragraph 2267 says, assuming that the guilty party's identity and responsibility have been fully determined, the traditional teaching of the Church does not exclude recourse to the death penalty. If this is the only possible way of effectively defending human lives against the unjust aggressor. And then it goes on and says that this is extremely rare. And then it goes and says, if not practically non-existent. And so I think that the bishops have done a wonderful job in erring on that side in preserving life. But just to clear that up, that the church doesn't teach against the death penalty. It says that there is a time to use it, but it is extremely rare, almost non-existent. Then we move on to no adultery, the sixth commandment. The seventh commandment, you shall not steal. The eighth commandment, you shall not bear false witness. That's one of them that I think is committed quite often, where people bear false witness against others at work. They make up stories, or they stretch the story to make somebody else look poor, and they bear false witness. You shall not covet. Now, the ninth and 10th commandments are almost one and the same. The ninth, you shall not covet, and it speaks about like coveting a wife, someone else's wife, because that's the part of the covenant relationship. But then the 10th commandment unfolds and completes the ninth commandment, you shall not covet anything. Your neighbor's ox or Volvo. Either one. You shall not covet either one. So those are the 10 commandments that God has given us. And in chapters 21 through 23, it is literally called the Book of the Covenant. That is the Book of the Covenant, the terms of the covenant. Now we move on to chapter 24. In chapter 24, this is the chapter where God is going to make the covenant with Israel. And so it says in verse 7 that he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. What we just read, chapter 20 and chapters 21 through 23, was just read in the hearing of the people, the terms of the covenant. And the people said, all that the Lord has spoken we will do, and we will be obedient. Behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words. And then Moses took the blood and threw it upon the people. And a covenant was made in chapter 24. And then Moses goes up on the mountain in verse 15, and he stayed on that mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And while he was up on that mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, a lot was happening down below. And once again, do you trust God? Do you trust God? Do you trust God when it doesn't look like the leadership is there? Do you trust God when your leaders are absent? or incapacitated.